Hello, Garrett. We are so excited to have you being featured here. Why don't we just jump right into it?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, Pam. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your role at True Ground.
Yeah. Thank you. And really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share with your audience. My name is Garrett Jackson. I am the Vice President of Philanthropy and Communications at True Ground Housing Partners. We are a 35-year-old affordable housing nonprofit developer, and we provide housing to over 5,000 individuals and families across the Washington, D.C. area today, servicing across 23 different properties, touching 5 jurisdictions here locally in the DMV.
Wonderful. What unique challenges do organizations in affordable housing are facing in the DC metro area, and how is True Ground addressing these?
Yeah, so the DC metro region is one of the highest cost regions in the United States. And because of that, it is not only extremely difficult to find affordable housing, it's also extremely difficult to build it. We have a shortage in this region of over 250,000 of affordable housing that are needed by 2030 just to meet the demand that was tracked about 5 years ago by the Metropolitan Council of Governments and the Housing Association of Nonprofit Developers. We are seeing an increased need in affordable housing and access to food services and access to mental health and wellness, financial wellness across our entire portfolio because the trend from inflation, from COVID, from any number of things that tends to hit middle America always tends to hit our lower income neighbors, especially hard. And so what we are doing to try to meet the demand and to try to meet the need is we provide resident services to each of our properties. We have a 60-person staff, and a third of those, about 21 persons on our staff, are part of our resident services team. And those are individuals who are activated at each of our 23 properties. They're on site. They're meeting the needs of residents. They're talking and working through needs of residents, assessing the needs, and being able to provide and connect them with resources, programming for kids, programming for our youth, the senior population as well. And why that's so important is because we know that at the core, these are human issues. Right? And so being able to treat our neighbors with the same dignity and humanity that they deserve enables our communities to be as strong as possible. And so when we build a community, we're not only looking at the community as a whole and trying to connect residents to opportunity at every chance, we're also thinking about how do we make sure that residents, when they've moved in, when they've settled, that they've got a partner along that journey. And so the resident services component is significant to how we're able to help solve some of that need. And it's a growing need, and it's one that is going to continue to grow with us as our organization scales. And so we're hoping that we can continue to grow our funding capacity to be able to meet that growing need.
I really love how you guys have a holistic approach to housing, right? Because it's not just giving someone a place to live, but it's also building a community around
Yeah.
it. Because I remember you telling me that you guys had dance classes and yoga and so many other activities to engage the residents. And that is so important. Like it just makes you guys, it humanizes you
That's right.
at so many levels.
Yeah. We hosted over 450 programs in 2024, engaged 75% of our residents at all of our properties. And I think part of why that's so important to say is these are active communities. These are families, these are seniors, these are young people who are looking to be connected and access the same resources that many folks in the DC region get to enjoy, but they don't necessarily have the extras to be able to do it. And so my colleague, Marquand Jackson, who runs our resident services team, talks about this social and cultural capital, which is what we're trying to expose residents to and try to give them a leg up so that we can close the gap that we see far too often in the region. And I think that's our way of trying to level the playing field and really give folks an opportunity to thrive. Our vision is that everyone deserves a place to call home, a foundation to build their dreams. And That's exactly what we're trying to do, having resident services embedded in the properties, connecting folks with a human so that they have someone who's walking alongside that journey. That's what we mean when we say building foundations for dream. They've got someone alongside them, walking with them to help them realize their potential.
Yeah, I love that you guys are walking the talk. So you guys recently rebranded.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that process on how it came about, why you guys decided to change your name and create this brand that is much more modern and look
Yeah.
innovative, forward thinking. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, this was a really fun one. It got an opportunity for me to show a bit of my creative side, as well as just all the things that I bring to our work, and being able to bring partners alongside us to think through that. The stakeholder engagement piece was huge as well. Doing a rebrand for an organization like True Ground, formerly the Arlington Partnership for Affordable Housing, so it was known for several years, was really a huge undertaking. Arlington County is a very deeply connected, family-oriented community. There are a lot of deep ties from our 8 founders who helped build the organization and really set the vision for the organization to be a shelter where people will be able to find home. And when you're taking something that is so deeply meaningful to so many people and has had such an impact, at first in Arlington County specifically, but now is stretched beyond, you really want to be very sensitive to that. And I think part of the thinking around why was we were growing and we saw a need beyond Arlington County. And we saw that in order to meet that need, we needed to have a name that reflected the growth that we were experiencing. And when we went into communities where we're trying to leverage funds to be able to build buildings, we need to be able to communicate that in those rooms too. And so that folks felt across jurisdictions that they had a partner that was not just representative of one area, but was representative for all. And so we had to find a really, really unique way to balance that, to keep the essence of our history that made us so special and innovative and excellent in delivering high quality, affordable housing, and translate that into a new name that would set a direction, brighten the way that we talk about our work, make sure that we're talking with an asset framed approach. That residents who live in a True Ground property, I almost looked up and said our residents, and not ours. They don't belong to us. They're residents who live in our properties, and be able to humanize it in such a way that enables folks to see themselves in the brand, to see themselves in what we were trying to accomplish. So it was a really fascinating project. It took a little over a year for us to pull together. So we did an RFP, selected a vendor who was in the DC region to help us build it out. And then we did a number of things. We talked to our residents. So we talked to residents across our resident council and got their feedback about what was important to them. We talked to our staff. We talked to our board. And we talked to even external partners to get their feedback on what would work and maybe what we should think more closely about. And I think while that gave us a lot of information to download and to process as we were thinking about names, it really allowed us to take stock and see that we've got a really, really wide range of folks who care very deeply about our work and want to continue working with us in the future. And so being able to bring them along in that process, I think, was really special and signaled our commitment to partnership, which still is a part of our name, True Ground Housing Partners. And so being able to kind of get through the process of the brand took a lot of grit by our philanthropy and communications team to reimagine our website, reimagine our look and our feel. The colors that we have that now are these deep greens and deep blues, and deep oranges and purples, secondary colors, really allow us to show really the diversity of the residents that call our properties home. And so we wanted a series of colors that felt as vibrant as the communities that we're creating. And so in order to do that, we wanted to have a color palette that reflected that way. We wanted to have topography that felt welcoming and that felt inclusive. And so we're really, really, really excited about where we landed and think the possibilities are endless. And then for what it was worth, having a location-based name we thought would be somewhat limiting. And so We wanted to make sure that the name we had reflected the warmth and the vibrancy and the trust that True Ground, we felt that essence of building a solid, firm foundation had, and then being able to have the housing partners be recognizable for what we do, really communicate the totality of the message. So True Ground Housing Partners is where we landed, and it took us a little while to get there, but we launched on our 35th anniversary, so the timing was serendipitous. On September 17th of 2024, introduced it more fully at our Celebrate Home annual fundraising event in October, and we're continuing to take the message forward everywhere we go.
And by the way, I absolutely love your new brand, your new
Thank you.
website, the color palette, the fonts that you guys selected. And one of the things that I love that you said was that you wanted a brand that reflected the high quality services that you provide.
Yeah.
We see across the board a lot of nonprofits that are very hesitant on investing in their brand because they think that if they invest in their brand, if they spend money in their brand, it's going to tell people that they don't need more money, right?
Mm.
But at the same time, it's not being reflective of who they are and their mission and like who they're caring for when they don't have clarity on the messaging on their website and across all their marketing collateral. It reflects poorly on them.
Yeah.
When you invest and you have clarity on the mission, your branding, like you stand out from the crowd.
You got to do more than just do the work. You've got to be able to show the work. And I think in this day and age, when all of what we do is so interconnected, digitally, otherwise, you need a message, you need a brand, you need something that is that you can stand on, that is memorable, that communicates who you are without you even saying it, right? And I think what we've been able to hopefully accomplish with this brand is something that's authentic, something that speaks to who we are, that feels familiar, but also feels new and refreshed. So we're excited.
And that your residents feel proud of too.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
How do you think affordable housing organizations can build stronger relationships in local communities and stakeholders?
Well, you said two key words, communities and stakeholders. I think part of any development that's happening across this region, affordable housing, nationally even, has become one of the hottest topics of conversation for obvious reasons. Cost of housing is astronomical. More folks are being pushed out of neighborhoods and communities because they can't afford them at all income levels, frankly. And so, of course, our neighbors with lesser incomes are affected the most. Connecting to the community and connecting stakeholders to the why, I think is critically important in this age of information being challenged, facts being challenged. It can be more difficult than ever to get a clear and cohesive message that can have the buy-in that's needed to be able to move projects forward. But I think what has worked well for us is being able to see the past success, the past projects, the stories of residents who have benefited from the programming, from the housing, seeing what these communities look like, seeing that when you walk into a True Ground property, you hopefully don't feel any different from walking into a market rate property. Right, that the build and the quality of the build is sustainable and it's beautiful and it's a place that really, hopefully anyone would want to be able to call home. And I mean that, getting a chance to tour any of our new properties and seeing the care and the quality that's gone even back some odd 10 years, the way that the organization was being forward thinking with the quality of the workmanship and the craftsmanship that they put into the buildings is a testament to the future opportunities that we need to put in front of residents and municipalities to say, we can build this. Look at sample A. We can build this, and this will not tear down the quality of your community. It will add value. It will be an asset to your community. And so being able to have samples of that messaging, I think, helps us get there. But it is community. It is stakeholders. It is showing up. It's keeping our word, and doing so with projects that are both deeply meaningful and have some significance to the communities in which they orient. We did a project that just recently opened in 2024, April of 2024. That was the former site of Central United Methodist Church in Ballston, the Ballston neighborhood of Arlington. And the church had wanted to redevelop. The project had been on the books for more than 10 or 15 years. And we finally got to a place where we could actually pursue the project and the mission, the sort of the reason why Central United wanted to move forward with this project was because they saw themselves as being more mission oriented and trying to reimagine what their church space could become instead of just a church sitting on a plot of land. And so what now is the new church at the base of a 144 unit building, housing, it is absolutely gorgeous, is this perfect blend between an organization that has a mission moment and decides where they want to see themselves in the future, and that being a part of the larger community and servicing the community in such a way is possible. And then we as a developer are able to help make that a reality. We are working with the community. We are working with the stakeholders and walking alongside them every step of the way to help deliver on those promises. So it's not a perfect process, and unfortunately none of these are. They take years and years to develop, and sometimes we disagree, right? And sometimes we have to go back to the drawing board and think through the solutions that will meet the needs the best way possible. But I think it's staying in the race and staying in the conversation and keeping a listening ear that's always open to the feedback is so critical, because that's part of the way that you win the trust of the communities, because you don't stop showing up.
Yes. And what a beautiful partnership with a church that, is I consider churches hubs for communities. They ground communities, right?
Yeah.
They unite people. So
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that story.
of course.
What trend do you see making the biggest impact on your industry in the coming year?
Storytelling, I think, is the trend. We talk a lot about resident services being a key component to why affordable housing can work. It's not just the building, it's the people and how you create community and a sense of belonging with people. And when you do that, you're finding a narrative is being created, right? Lives are being changed, needs are being met. And with each need being met, there's a story there. And so I think the unique trend that we're seeing is this more human-centered storytelling. We're doing that in digital with video content, doing on-the-fly interviews at many of our programs to get a real-time sense of how a resident may be experiencing a particular program that they're excited about, or any variety of ways to kind of showcase the natural beauty of the places that folks get to call home. And I think by doing that, it's helping to allow residents to drive more of the narrative around why affordable housing is a solution we all need to get behind, instead of just the organization marketing itself in that way, right? There's a really unique formula that we can kind of come up with for the perfect pitch and the perfect story, and storyboard it just right. You need this person to say that. You need this person to say this. And that's fine. But at the essence of it, we really want a heartfelt story that tells a real truth of where someone was, where they've been, and maybe where they're going. And that we are on this journey with them through these circumstances that may not necessarily be ideal, right? And so we are trying to use this, I mentioned, this asset frame lens of not thinking about residents from a less than posture, but from what they bring to the table and how they're trying to take what they bring to the table to launch their brighter futures and whatever that looks like for them. And so I'm excited about the ways that we've tried to get creative about how we do our storytelling. We did a big campaign on our website called 35 for 35, celebrating our 35th anniversary last year, and diving a bit deeper into some of those resident stories for our senior populations, where we do medical access, but things like dental health and oncology. We did a senior prom at our
Oh
Oakwood
my.
Meadow property this past fall, and to see seniors dressed up in their very best and brightest and dance to the DJ, and you would just be surprised at how those moments can bring community together in ways that instill a sense of pride, a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, and those things create this sense of quality of life, right? That we're all
Yeah.
hoping, becomes a better thing. And when you do those things, I believe that our communities are healthier. Our communities are better, not just the 23 communities we have, but the communities that are all around them, right? And so
Yes.
if we focus on those human stories, if we focus on the storytelling and, um, using those moments where sometimes we have to be a bit more thoughtful and rigid about our storytelling, but also being open to allowing the story to tell itself, I think we'll find that there's real gold that we can't claim,
Hmm.
real gold that we can't claim, right? This is what their experience is, and we want to the extent that they're open to, be the vessel by which they're able to share that. And I think that the trust that residents have with us to share those stories is one that we take very seriously. And so we want to be very thoughtful about how we do that. But I think the storytelling is huge.
Yeah, I think that that type of organic content is making a comeback this year because it does humanize a lot of the brands. I think when we first talked, you mentioned something about not really scheduling the day that you were going to go and film, but actually going to film and being open to who wanted to share.
Mhm.
That had worked really well for you, which I think also kind of connects to the point of that organic content and more less
Yeah,
staged,
yeah,
very authentic to your brand. And people really are starting to connect with that, or they've been connecting with that, but we're bringing that content
yes,
back to the
yes,
stage.
yes. It's not everybody's comfortable being on camera, right? And we
I
know,
know I'm not.
right? We know that for any number of reasons, and so we're always sensitive to that. And sometimes folks don't necessarily want to be called out, even for the good thing that they may have experienced. And so we try to be thoughtful about just creating a sort of a circle of trust that we're here. We want to highlight the good work and the strides that folks are making, and be a resource where we can to tell authentic stories. We're hoping to do some focus on upward mobility and workforce development that's happening this year, in addition to our children, youth, and family programming. That's always a huge staple that we see. We'll have a big back to school event later in the fall. We do a big summer camp for our youth that many get a chance to participate in. We're doing things like individual development accounts for our young adults to try to get them on a path for success. Kids or young people, ages 5, many of them are going to have child savings accounts for the first time. And so trying to create
It's
a sense of
huge.
financial stability and a healthy relationship with money early on, that can create some opportunity for them to build, perhaps not generational wealth, but at least be able to move them along the continuum of creating a healthy relationship with money. So we're trying to think through it, even for home ownership, thinking about pathways to help folks be able to connect to that generational wealth through home ownership opportunities. And so we're exploring a variety of different ways to just continue to meet the need and be nimble, be flexible, be innovative, be creative, because everyone's in a different place. Stability might be exactly where they are, and that's it's a great place they're able to call home. For others, they're looking for pathways to grow, and we want to be able to be in a position to meet any of those needs at any given.
Yeah, you guys have really thought of everything. Okay, so what are you the most excited about this year in your industry?
Yeah, wow. So I balance both the communications and the philanthropy side of our work. I think the times that we're in are unique times, and I think it's a open door opportunity for philanthropy to get really engaged as well. And I think the unique connection to communication colleagues is the message is the same. The message is the same. The need is greater than ever. We need more people behind our causes. than ever. And we need to connect those individuals, those organizations philanthropically to spur our work forward. And so I think the philanthropy side of our work is going to be a really exciting growth opportunity for us. We're launching a number of initiatives to generate more interest in our programming on the individual giving side, and hopefully a variety of other ways, legacy planning and the like. And so we're eager to see that come to pass. And then I think on the communication side, having the new brand is certainly, a huge moment for us. And there's many jurisdictions that still are yet to know True Ground. And so being able to make that introduction and tell the narrative, tell the story of who we are and why we're a choice partner in this work ahead where the need is so high. It's definitely something that we're excited about as well.
Wonderful. What sources do you rely on for insights into future trends?
Yeah, we're connected with a few organizations that are both regional and national. The Housing Partnership Network based out of Boston is a great group of nonprofit developers that are on the cutting edge of everything that's happening at the federal, state, and local level. And so we're deeply connected to them through advisory boards and others to just kind of learn what the trends are happening across the industry so that we can respond. As I mentioned earlier, the Housing Association of Nonprofit Developers, also known as CAN, they're regional to the DC area, regional organization that sort of brings us together and convenes in a few different ways to tell the regional story in a much more highlighted way around what the need is for housing in general. I just met with a colleague literally today on how we can kind of better our collaboration around messaging as an industry so that we have a bit more alignment on our messaging as a whole and hopefully kind of raise all the boats. At the same time, this is a bit of a galvanizing moment for us. The issue of affordability and the issue of supply is not something we could wave a magic wand over and just fix overnight. It's going to take a lot of funding. It's going to take a lot of negotiating. It's going to take a lot of sweat and equity to be able to get to where we need. But in order to do that, we've got to come together with partners like them. And then there's so many others because of the work that we do that touches our service providers, the service provider community, whether it's related to food, related to permanent supportive housing, whether it's related to any number of tangential or connected issues. There's a bit of a sort of a mutuality where it's happening to one partner in a relative industry. We can kind of glean from that as well. So we're fortunate to have quite a variety of partners across the immediate housing industry and our service provider community to give us some inspiration.
The power of partnerships. Okay, so getting into the lighter questions of today,
Sure.
What are you listening to these days?
That's a interesting question. So I am a musician by trade as well. I'm a classically trained musician. I sing in a professional ensemble called the Jason Max Ferdinand Singers.
Can I find you on Spotify?
I believe you can. We have an album called Solace that came out a few years ago and just performed at the BBC Proms in London this past September with a guy named Jacob Collier, who's been awarded for a number of Grammys, but is up for a few Grammys this year as well. So what am I listening to besides some of that? One of my favorite artists, I'm a big jazz guy, is a guy by the name of Robert Glasper, and he's a pianist. It has a number of different albums that he's put out, but most recently as a series that he dubbed Black Radio, which is kind of a call to action, mixed social justice, mixed R&B, soul, jazz, all of what kind of jazz is bottled up that comes out on record. And so his third iteration, Black Radio 3, has been in heavy rotation. He has a piano album called Let Go. That is just spectacular. It is a really, you could just kind of listen to it in the background. It'll lull you to sleep. And it's just, it's been on constant rotation, particularly in the season as things are a bit haywire these days. So being able to have something that can kind of bring some calm to the storm, I think is always great. I love gospel music as well. So I've got Ricky Dillard is a go-to for me. He's got a great album that he put out recently. Because I'm such a music head, I don't do as many podcasts as much. So I tend to fill my time with more music than I do podcasts. My wife just put me on to a podcast, the name I'm going to forget, about CEOs and leadership. I wish I knew the name, but there was an outstanding podcast.
Diary of a CEO, maybe?
I think so. I think so. I think
I
so.
love it.
Yeah. So we were listening to that yesterday, and she's not a traditional podcaster, at least not until recently. And so when we were in the car driving and she was listening, I said, "What are you listening to?" I said, "Diary of a CEO." Wow, this is okay. I can get with this. All right, this is great. This is great. So yeah, I'm listening to that too.
Okay. It's so interesting because whenever we ask this question, people always talk about podcasts. So you're probably the only one who has talked about music. Maritza and I, we listen to so many podcasts throughout
Yeah.
the year. Obviously, I love music too.
Yeah.
But podcasts are huge for us because that's
Uh-huh.
where we really like get our information on the go. So
Sure. Sure.
I love that
Sure.
this was different, and I'm gonna be
Yeah.
checking out those albums for
Please.
sure.
Please. Please.
What's your favorite spot in DC? And it could be like a restaurant or a park. What comes to mind?
DC in 2025. It's a good question. I've got a few. So a few that are special for a couple of different reasons. The portrait gallery, my wife and I did our 1 year anniversary photos inside, which was just a stunning space. We actually took some pictures next to this like golden piano, which is over by, I think, where Michelle Obama's uh, portrait is on display. And so that kind of became a quick favorite. Where we're big foodies, we haven't spent as much time in DC as we would like as of late. I'm trying to think what the just north of DC in Mount Rainier is a place called Penn Social that we started to frequent a bit. That it's not a gastropub, but really kind of a unique
I love
winery
all
type
the
of
restaurants
feel.
in Mount Rainier. They
Yes,
have like a little quirk to them and so much
yes.
character.
There's one next to Penn Social Penn Royal, excuse me. Penn Royal. There's one next to Penn Royal that my wife is going to be very angry that I forgot the name, but it's literally next to Penn Royal. They're great. Um, my wife is a Howard grad, so we always spend time down by Howard when we're in DC. I'm a musician, so I'm always down at the Kennedy Center. So there's a few things there. And we love spending time down at the wharf. I think just, the walkability, the way that community is kind of sprouted almost out of nowhere, being a native of the area, to see that sort of emerge as it has been really, really unique to see. DC has gone through so many iterations of changes through the years. At times it can be a little challenging to kind of grasp what's the thing that you still really feel super connected to. Union Market has been, a big hit for us. St. Anne salons and the whole community down there, the Mazzeria, you can just kind of go for days. But yeah, we love it. We love it. We're on the Maryland side, so we spend a lot of time in College Park, Hyattsville, Columbia, Maryland, and a few others, and Baltimore from time to time as well. So we try to have fun.
Awesome. Well, Garrett, thank you so much for your time. This has
Thank you.
been great to learn a little bit more about True Ground and you as well.
Yeah.
I wish you guys the best in 2025.
Thank you.
And yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
I appreciate the time, and look us up, truegroundhousing.org. We're excited to engage with any and all of you. Thank you so much.